Nobody believes in you. You've lost again and again and again. The lights are cut off, but you're still looking at your dream, reviewing it every day and say to yourself, it's not over until I win.
Welcome to the very first video of the contest prep series that I'll be making for the next 16 weeks. 2025 essentially allowed me to rediscover who I was outside of bodybuilding, especially after giving it all for my 2024 series only to be left without my pro card and without a sense of identity after the shows. I decided that this wasn't the way to go. That's something I'll be talking about in another video, but for today, I'll be talking about the details of my contest prep. I'll give you guys some timestamps in the description box below so you can kind of scrub through whichever parts you want to watch. In case you guys don't know who I am, my name is Elvis. I'm a personal health and physique coach based in Singapore, and I am an aspiring men's physique competitor. My fitness journey began in 2014, where I just wanted to lose some weight. And in 2017, that was the very first time I stepped onto any kind of bodybuilding stage. And I took my very first giant leap of faith and competed overseas in the Thailand Pro Qualifiers in 2022. And ever since then, I did 5 more Pro Qualifier shows ranging from 2022 all the way to the end of 2024. And that was when I decided to stop competing for 1 year just to kind of refine my process. And here we are in the 2026 season. The goal is still the same. I'm trying to win my pro card as always. But as to how I'm approaching this contest prep, that's something I'm going to be talking about very soon, and I hope this can serve as a guide for those who are aspiring to step onto the stage for the very first time. So, what shows am I doing this year? For those of you who don't know how the structure works, essentially you have to compete in a regional show. Afterwards, you are then allowed to compete in any pro qualifier across the world. And if you win the show, or in some cases the top 3, you will then be awarded your IFBB Pro card, which then allows you to compete in the pro shows. As a pro men's physique athlete, you have to accumulate a certain number of points if you want to qualify for the Mr. Olympia, which is a show that pretty much everybody knows. I have a couple of shows planned, and here it goes. On the 10th of May, I'll be doing the Johor Bahru Regionals. From there, I'm going to be doing a local bodybuilding show called Dream Aesthetics Nationals on the 6th of June 2026. This is really to give me more exposure towards the stage, especially after I've been away from the stage for quite a long time. And here it comes, the 27th of June 2026. That is when I'm going to be doing my very first pro qualifier, and that will be in Tokyo, Japan. The goal, of course, is to win my pro card in that show. But if that does not happen, I'll be doing the China Olympia Amateur on the 12th of July. And finally, if I don't quite make that again, my final attempt for the pro card will be on the 18th of July 2026, and that will be in Taiwan. Love their judging, love the way they handle their athletes and the backstage. Everything just runs so smoothly back there. And that's why I keep going back to that country over and over again. I think even as a pro, I'm going to go back to that country and compete in their pro shows. That'll be pretty exciting. Okay, so what are my current stats? I started my prep at 16 weeks out, and I was roughly 12 to 13% body fat, sitting at 90 kilos. The previous off-season that I did back in 2024, I started my contest prep at 97 or 98 kilos. Of course, the body fat was a lot higher, and I had to cut down almost 20 kilos of body weight to kind of get into that contest shape. So now, starting at a lower body weight, I'm definitely in a much better position to take my time with losing body fat so I can retain as much muscle mass as possible. Before the contest prep, I was doing this sort of maintenance phase, and I was running at about 4,482 calories on my training days and 3,990 calories on my rest days. And I was doing 20 minutes of daily fasted cardio. Yes, I have been doing daily fasted cardio every single day, even in my off season. And so to start off this contest prep, my coach decided to take a little bit of an aggressive approach. We're dropping our training day calories down to 3,753 calories, and rest day calories have dropped down to 3,517. That puts me at an average of about a 600 calorie deficit from where I was sitting at maintenance. He also bumped up my daily fasted cardio from 20 minutes to 30 minutes every single day, but he did not touch my step count outside of cardio. And yes, the step count does not include the number of steps I take in cardio. And so I just did my very first check-in for the contest prep at 15 weeks out this morning, and I was sitting at 88.8 kilos. And as you can see in this clip, this is how I look like right now. Finally, I'm going to be talking about how I'm going to be doing this prep differently from my other preps. So in 2022, my focus was making the contest prep as sustainable as possible. I followed the coach's advice and did the cardio I was told to do. I followed the meal plan, but outside of it, I wasn't moving very much at all. My step count was essentially about 3,000 to 4,000 steps a day outside of cardio. I was drinking a boatload of diet sodas, which is not great for digestion if you do it in excess. And I was very flavor focused, so I would put in as much condiments as I wanted, as much seasonings as I wanted. And that obviously led to less than ideal results at the end. So my conditioning definitely wasn't as great as it should be, but it was good enough for me to place decently well on my shows. Matter of fact, in the Taiwan Pro qualifiers in 2022, I placed first in my division. Although there were only 3 people in there, I still placed first and I managed to get to the overalls. And that was a huge deal for me, especially since that was my very first time competing, after Thailand. In 2023, I did the exact same thing, just that I took a little bit of a more extreme approach. I realized there was such a thing as step count outside of cardio, so then that's what I did. I was still trying to make my diet as sustainable as possible, but on top of that, I added in an excessive number of steps since my plan didn't contain any step count number, so to speak. So on average, I was clocking a minimum of 12,000 steps every single day, and I went up as high as 20,000, and on one of those days, I clocked in 50,000 steps. And by the way, guys, this is on top of 1 hour of fasted cardio on average every single day. I definitely got into contest shape, but at the cost of my mental and physical well-being. I got extremely fatigued, and that was the very first time I did a binge on my contest prep, which took me a very long time after the show to recover from. And so with what happened in 2023, I reviewed my process and I decided that flavor was the culprit that led to my demise in 2023. And so I went monk mode. I removed all sorts of pleasures from my life. I removed all flavorings, all seasonings, all diet sodas. There was no joy whatsoever. I followed the plan exactly to the T. Everything was measured from the amount of water that I was drinking to the amount of salt I was putting into my food. No more, no less. And on top of that, I was doing an excessive number of steps every single day on top of my cardio as well. I was so tunnel visioned into my contest prep that I essentially pushed every single person away from my life who did not serve my purpose. I was, as you can say, obsessed with the process. And I know social media tends to over-glamorize, go hard or go home kind of mentality, but trust me guys, it's not sustainable for the long term, and you definitely have a life outside of whatever it is you're obsessed over. And so as a result, I was definitely ahead of schedule, but when the competition came, I did not get the results that I wanted. As a matter of fact, in 2024, when I first competed in the Thailand Pro qualifiers, I got absolutely demolished. And I basically was depressed for the 3 weeks leading to the next Pro qualifier show, which was in Taiwan. And it was the worst 3 weeks of my life. I can confidently say so. And yes, I did pretty well in Taiwan. I got the 3rd place out of 21 athletes in my division, but I did not get what I was looking for, which is my pro card. And so not only did I not win my pro card, I essentially was left without an identity and with nobody by my side at that point. And it was a very empty feeling. And so from there, I kind of reviewed my process again. And this is what I discovered. Number 1, for training, I was essentially, for the most part, ego lifting. Even as I was refining my techniques, most of my execution was based on ego lifting, and I was focused more so on increasing the number on the logbook rather than focusing on the mind-muscle connection as well as the quality of the reps, and having progressive overload be a consequence of having great execution over a long period of time. And in terms of psychology, I realized that I do need to strike a balance. I do need to know when is the right time to hit the accelerator and when is the right time to step onto the brake. Most importantly, to not forget the people around me in my life. and not exclude them from the process that is my bodybuilding journey. And so 2025 was the time I took to heal my relationships outside of bodybuilding, to form a complete life with my own business and continuing my education, as well as refining the fundamentals in my training and execution. And so right now, at the beginning of the contest prep, I'm standing from a place of detachment and being completely present. Yes, I absolutely do want to win my pro card. Everybody competes to win. However, the difference is I recognize that I cannot control the external circumstances that might happen on competition day. But what I can control is how I execute every single day. And so this leads me to the very first point of how I'm going to be doing things differently in this prep. Number one, I'm going to be executing as required. No more, no less. That essentially means I'm going to be ticking the boxes as required, and outside of bodybuilding, I'm going to be living a completely exclusive life. This leads me to the second thing I'm going to be doing differently, which is living a complete life outside of bodybuilding. So in previous preps, all I could talk about, all I could think about was the contest prep and how I'm going to look on stage. I watched all these motivational videos on YouTube talking about the grind mindset, the tunnel vision, pushing everybody out that does not serve you towards your goal, be obsessed. And I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was the way to achieve the things that you want in life. But I realized that this is not the way to go. So right now, I like to make it the other way around, whereby I am living a full life and including bodybuilding into it. Well, yes, I'm an aspiring pro bodybuilder, but I believe that bodybuilding should be an integrated part of my life and not the other way around. As a personal health and physique coach myself, where I coach mostly lifestyle clients, this is something that I do have to practice even with myself as a pro bodybuilder. And certainly there is no way I'll be preaching the bodybuilding lifestyle to everyday normal people. And finally, the third point is that I'm going to be making a more conscious effort to recover outside of the weight room. Previously, all I could do is push myself as hard as I could in the weight room, follow the meal plan, do the steps, and that was it. My sleep was horrendous, and I was wondering why I felt completely exhausted towards the end. And so this time around, I'm going to make sure that recovery is something that I track. And this will start off with the most fundamental recovery modality of them all, which is sleep. 8 to 10 hours every single day, non-negotiable. I'm also going to be on point with my sports massage, which is going to happen every single week. I'm going to be consistent with my mobility work, which I started with the Gymshark 66 challenge. And I am considering doing some sauna treatments, hot and cold plunges. This is depending on whether I have enough time and money to do it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'm going to be uploading one video every single week. You guys are going to be getting constant updates from me, so do stay tuned for the next week. And before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click on the bell icon so you don't miss an update when I do post onto YouTube. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm signing off now. Ciao.